All right, we got 4 folks up here. I'll start on the far right. Lynn Hite is with the Small Business Development Center in Longwood. I've actually worked with Lynn a little bit. We had a peer-to-peer group. There was a group of small business and entrepreneurs that met around the region for, I guess, a couple of years. And that was an interesting group. We went from town to town to talk about what business was seeing in the community and what could be done to help those new businesses and small businesses along. He's got with him Brandon. Brandon is the numbers guy, one of the numbers guys. If you haven't seen their annual report, I think it's on their website at the Longwood SBDC, and that you'll see some quotes in there talking about both Lynn and Brandon and the work that they do with small businesses. I think if there were a lot of bankers in the room, the time you go see these guys is before you get in trouble, not after. So if you got a problem with a business financially, those are the guys you see. But you go early. You don't go late. You know, if you go late, the outcome's not as good, right? Got Lauren with Mid-Atlantic Broadband Communities Corp. I just call it MBC. Lauren is doing a great job. She's from Danville. She works with community engagement and economic development. A lot of you from local government, if you're here, you've probably seen Lauren around the community. She's done a lot of traveling. So we're glad to have you. She's going to talk a little bit about the Southern Virginia Innovation Hub, SOVA Innovation Hub, at least as much as Jeremy will let her talk about it at this point. So he's listening, if you're not wondering. And we've got Krista. Krista, I don't know you, but I'm looking forward to hearing you and seeing what you've got to say about apprenticeships. Obviously, you've heard Go Virginia funded a study into apprenticeships to see how we could get that going. And if you think about what apprenticeships really are, it's not. It's actually learning how do you run a business and how do you have ideas to start businesses and how do you get started in some of these things that really in this area in particular we're lacking in being able to, number one, provide apprenticeships to students that are interested, and then also having students that are willing to go with that route. So we'll go ahead and get started. I want all of them to talk a little bit more about what they do and their businesses and how they interact with folks in Southern Virginia. So Krista, would you start?
Thank you very much. I'm Krista Boerrigter. My official function with our company Axxor is HR manager. Axxor is a manufacturer of paper honeycomb core. It's a lightweight structural material that's used in a number of different applications. The 4 main industries that we supply to are automotive, furniture, packaging, and doors. So we only make the paper honeycomb core. We send it on to be further manufactured. We interact with Region 3 in a number of ways. And would you like for me to elaborate on that at this point? Okay, great. Well, we got to Region 3 because we are a supplier to IKEA. So Axxor has 2 other manufacturing facilities, one in the Netherlands and one in Poland. So we do supply globally. We were supplying IKEA out of Poland when they first opened up in Cane Creek Parkway, and they looked for us to follow them to supply. So we've continued to do that from Ringgold, Virginia, just a mile down the street from them, but we've also grown much larger. Our largest industry is automotive. So how do we interact with Region 3? Well, 23 of our employees live in the region. 2 of our customers are in the region. But one of the things that we are very excited about to partner with in the region is to collaborate with a number of you, very familiar faces of some of you already in the group, on workforce development. So we do that in a number of ways by providing work experiences through things like having Averett's management class each semester come out and hang out with us for a tour, just asking a lot of questions. You know, what is lean manufacturing? How does that work? How does that, what does it look like? We were host this past summer to an Excite program. If you haven't heard about that, you need to see Julie Brown, get some more information about that, or Dr. Jones may be able, I see him back there, he may be able to tell you a little bit about that program as well. But that's where teachers from our county and city schools came out to visit, to learn about businesses in the area. So we were hosts to that. And then the apprenticeship that you've already mentioned, Randy. We are thrilled to be able to provide for one of our employees an industrial maintenance apprenticeship. So we heard about this in our manufacturers roundtable. I think it was in the end of June, end of August. I had an employee that was enrolled, working on his degree, not his degree, I'm sorry, on his apprenticeship program with the industrial maintenance. So for you employers out there that might be thinking about apprenticeship, wondering about it, lots of great information available to you. You need to ask, find out there are many different programs that are available. So the way we set ours up, because we are there to make honeycomb core, so we want to make sure our production continues. So we committed to 4 hours per week for this employee to complete his study. It is a flexible program, so it's a combination of online as well as in the lab work. And so we provide his wages for half of that, so 2 hours, and then we have him committing 2 hours of his personal time. The Department of Labor is provided a grant for the training program, and that is through the RCAP.
I think one of the things that's interesting about this, when you think about advanced manufacturing, and we have this discussion all the time, manufacturing today looks a lot different than when my parents were coming along. When you said manufacturing to my mama, she thought of a shoe factory. In Victoria, that's what she thought about because that's where she worked. Well, that's not where we are today. And this is an example of what manufacturing looks like today as opposed to what it looked like 50 years ago. So we have an education process that we have to go through to not only teach them, the kids, about the manufacturing today, but also the parents, because they're not used to seeing it either. So a perfect example of a business coming in, following another business that's working in the region in a lot of different ways. Lauren, talk a little bit about the SOVA Innovation Hub.
All right. So I'll start with a little background on MBC, just in case anyone is unfamiliar. We are a fiber network that started in 2004 with federal and state funding. We're now a private, not-for-profit company, still with an economic development mission. And so in my role as Director of Economic Development and Community Engagement, it means I get to have a lot of fun, go around and talk to everyone within the Tobacco Commission Southern Virginia footprint, so Region 3 and beyond. But Halifax is our home base. Our corporate headquarters is in the Southern Virginia Technology Park, just down the road. And the SOVA Innovation Hub hopefully will be our new corporate headquarters sometime in the next 18 to 24 months. So if you look on that numbers sheet on your table about Go Virginia, on the back you'll see the different types of grants. And so the SOVA Innovation Hub is currently in the enhanced capacity building stage. And so we applied for and received an enhanced capacity building grant to explore the feasibility of building this new facility in Halifax County. And the upstairs would be MBC's new, very modern corporate headquarters, but the downstairs, we hope, will be home to programming that is available to the community. It would be in partnership with Microsoft TechSpark and the different pillars and focus areas that they have set forth. It would also be a place for collaboration, not only among the partners here in Halifax, but working with the Institute, whose service area includes Halifax and Mecklenburg, working with the various community colleges, which all overlap. And so the SOVA Innovation Hub intends to be just that, a hub that has spokes connecting both within the region and outside of it. And so through this feasibility study, we've already accomplished a number of the deliverables. One of them was we worked with a group called Impact Makers out of Richmond, and they did a survey of within our region, within the state, and across the country, various programs, and made some recommendations kind of to give us a starting point. And from that report, we then convened the first advisory committee meeting, and that advisory committee includes 2 people from each of the 5 counties identified by the TechSpark program. So there's a couple of you in this room that are on that committee. And so that committee then is kind of charged with saying, well, if we had this facility, what could we do with it? We know that there is very important functions that require us to all be in the same place, and sometimes finding just the right meeting space can help facilitate a more successful program or a meeting. So we want the SOVA Innovation Hub to be a hub for all of these partners, but also a meeting point between education and business. So we've had that committee. We had the workforce partners meeting was held here at the Higher Ed Center back in February. One of our next steps is to have an economic impact report conducted, not only for the construction of the building, but also a couple of jobs will be created out of it, and it will also allow MBC to continue to grow. So that's kind of where we are right now, and more to come soon. Did I do okay, Jeremy? All right.
Morning, folks. I'm Brandon Hennessey, Small Business Development Center out of Longwood.
Wait 1 second.
Sure, sorry.
One thing I want to point out. I guess as full disclaimer, I'm also chair of NBC's board, and one of the maps that we saw at our last meeting was this kind of hub and spoke deal that Lauren was talking about, that had, South Boston, and had all the arrows going out to the different localities and community colleges and that kind of thing. And as I was looking at that, I thought about the GOTAC deal. And so if you take this Southern Innovation Hub and you put that on a map, and then you layer on, and at some point we're going to do this, you layer on all the different parties involved with the GOTAC project, all of a sudden you begin to see some infrastructure taking place that allows for this cross-training and this cross-communication, around the region. And then you kind of build almost like economies of scale. You start to build that infrastructure, and all of a sudden it gets to be meaningful. And with all these different areas going between the GOTAC project and then the Southern Innovation Hub, I mean, that's something that's going to really be powerful, I think, as we move into the next few years. So really excited about that, and NBC's glad to be a part of it. We're glad to have Lauren traveling around talking to so many of you from a local standpoint, and keeping, again, that communication going. Brandon, sorry.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry.
No, me too. Good to have you with us. Longwood does a lot of work through the Small Business Development Center, helping businesses, and we'll hear a little bit about that now. But again, if you know of a business, go early, don't go late.
Thank you, Randy. I'm going to let Lynn take the macro organizational level of the SBDC, as he's the regional director of the Western region for the SBDC. I'm going to kind of talk about my experience as a business analyst. I work in the Central Virginia region, so I'm responsible for just north of Prince Edward into Buckingham, all the way down into the South Boston area, and then it transcends close to his region in the West region, and then Ellen Templeton is in the Eastern region, and she's responsible for Petersburg, Sussex, Emporia, and that region. My role as a business analyst is to help entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs who are starting businesses and small business owners, existing businesses. That means providing education to them, like Building the Foundations class is a non-industry descript class that helps businesses no matter what industry they're planning on going into. If they're planning on opening up a restaurant, if they're thinking about getting into an e-commerce business, if they're thinking about starting a lawn care business, and providing them the tools and resources to begin, or to sustain, or to grow and expand their business. That's really my responsibility in a nutshell. Lynn, do you want to talk about SBDC?
Yeah, my name is Lynn Hite. I'm the regional director of the Longwood Small Business Development Center. I have an office here in South Boston. We also have an office in Danville, Virginia, and one in Martinsville, Virginia. My office covers Halifax, Pennsylvania, Henry, Franklin, and Patrick counties. We see a lot, like Brandon was saying, we see a lot of different individuals that want to start a business or expand a business. And we also get individuals that are having problems with their business. So we try to help them in all those areas. The biggest thing that I see that a lot of people that want to start a business, and I think Randy's going to talk about this a little later, is access to capital is a big thing with them. Also, access to knowledge. A lot of them don't know what to do or how to do it, and that's where we come in. Our services are free and confidential thanks to support from the stakeholders in the counties and cities that we serve. So I think last year I counseled, I think it was 99 clients. The year before that, 120. I've worked with clients in 8 different counties, been with Longwood a little over 4 years, and I've worked with clients from Emporia, excuse me, to Rocky Mount. And I've pretty much seen it all, and but we've done a lot of good and a lot of help. I just completed Community Business Launch Challenge in Danville, and the city of Danville also gave to that as well, and we have 4 winners. One of the winners is on the stage, can I say that right now? Did one in South Boston 2 years ago. I'm a big believer in the Community Business Launch and hope to be able to do more of them in the future.
I think one of the things, if you're not familiar with the Small Business Development Center, they have a website, and I get their emails that show all the different training opportunities that they provide. And I think if you're an economic developer or anybody in local government, as you see these types of training opportunities that are provided, and Lynn, you might talk a little bit about that, but it's really a wide variety of things that you have access to that will help you as you start a business or grow a business. And I don't know how many of those things that y'all do, but
we're probably up to 6 to 8 different seminars now. One is how to do a business plan. One is how to market your business. One is small business financials. I just created one last year, increased sales for your small business. What am I leaving out? Brandon's doing one on cash flow. So we have a lot of different classes that we do that, again, is free to the public. I think the biggest challenge we have is getting the word out, but the Chamber of Commerce's in the town that we work in are really helpful with that to help spread the word. We partner with them on workshop as well. So I think that's the hard thing, is getting the word out and letting people know about it. So people could help spread the word about what we do. We know we're here to help. We just want to get the word out. So
I think that seems to be a kind of a familiar theme. How do you communicate, across the region? We talk about it a lot in our meetings. If you think about Region 3, the communication channels are north-south. If you're in Martinsville or Danville, you're more closely aligned with Roanoke, Lynchburg, Greensboro. If you're in the northern part of the region, you're more closely identified probably with Richmond. If you're down in Mecklenburg and South Brunswick, you probably get your news from Raleigh-Durham. So when you try to think about, is there an east-west communication channel, there isn't one. And of course, that's one of the challenges that we face. It's one of the things we try to do on the Go Virginia website, which is to help that communication. So Lynn and him do a great job, and a lot of the stuff they talked about in those classes sounds pretty technical. I'm an accountant by nature, so I love all that stuff. But if you're going to be a successful business, that's some of the stuff you got to know. And to get that training free of charge, confidentially, is great. Lynn, while you got the microphone, why don't you talk about, or Brandon, either one, some of the successes, some of the businesses that you've helped, that you've seen be successful, in their business.
Well, the biggest success I've seen is the 2 CBL programs that I've done. So there was 5 new businesses started in South Boston and 1 expansion. So I really believe in a program like that because I see the results. And like I said, the biggest obstacle to people wanting to start or expand a business is access to capital. So, and then, of course, in Danville, we had 4 winners. And again, and some decided not to start, which I think can be looked at as, may sound weird, but can be a success as well. If they're not ready to start, our goal is not to push people into business if they're not ready. That's not really accomplishing anything. So some of them said, I need to wait a year. And I think that was, for a lot of them, was the right decision. So we're excited about the business in Danville getting ready to start. And maybe she could talk a little bit about what she's going to do too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Okay. So For this, so I'll put on a different hat now. Telly has told me it's all economic development, so it's okay. So I also own a yoga studio that opened last November in Danville, and I opened it in response to the incumbent studio closing. And so in making that decision, did it knowing that the community business launch program was getting ready to start in January of this year. And so as a participant, myself and our studio manager, who is really why that business can exist, because I have to work for NBC all day, which is wonderful and fun. And so she's back in Danville running the studio. But so she and I attended classes for 6 weeks on Tuesday nights from 6 to 8 together. And it went through various different topics each week. And so Lynn and the Launch Place were part of that. Letterpress Communications was part of that. It was the best program we had during that 6 weeks. Give a little shout out. Yeah. And so at the end of it, we had the opportunity to decide if we wanted to apply to pitch. And if we decided to pitch, we'd be eligible for a piece of prize money. And so we applied, and we had 5 minutes to pitch, or 3 minutes to pitch, and 2 minutes for questions. So that was a lot of fast talking back on March 12th, I guess, somewhere around then. And then the following Wednesday, Lynn presented me with a large $25,000 check, which I appreciate. When I saw him today, I asked if he had another one for me, but we're very grateful that we were one of 4 businesses that were part of the recipients of that grant funding. And it's exciting because one of the other recipients is the screen printing company that we use. One of the other competitors is a creative agency that is starting up in Danville that has helped us with a few different events. So you start seeing this interconnectivity between the various small businesses that are all starting around the same time. But to speak again that it's all economic development, that Main Street redevelopment piece is something that's happening very visibly in Danville. The SOVA Innovation Hub hopes to be part of that here in Halifax. So it really is all connected. So that would be kind of, if we look at where are we headed, I think this type of collaboration is spreading and is starting to really make a difference from where we started with these first meetings a couple years ago. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I'd like to add a little bit to that collaboration piece, because I shared with you about the apprenticeship program that Axxor is offering. But I would like to share with you, in addition to that, when my husband Robert was doing his site search for where we were going to locate the manufacturing facility. That was in 2010. And that was the Ringgold Cane Creek Industrial Parkway. Doug, I think you made the reference of the difference between cities and counties, and sometimes that's problematic and all that. A beautiful part of that story is we were living in Louisville, Kentucky at the time. We had no idea. When we came to look at the location of our plant, it was seamless. It was never the county or the city, or it was this, that, or the other. It was, we are all one team working together to get you to choose this location. So we are the beneficiaries of a number of people that are in this room that have the foresight, the perseverance, and the dedication to this region to work together. Telly and Matt Rose stopped by a month or so ago with a prospect, a manufacturing prospect, and they were telling them about the different opportunities and things and all, you know, for where they were at that point in their decision-making process. And I was listening, and I said, can I just add one thing? It doesn't stop when they get you to locate in our area. It is ongoing. And that leads me like to the workforce development that we have through the apprenticeship program. So I am very, very grateful to be a part of this region. We're very thankful for the support that we get. We're very grateful for the opportunity to give back to our community, and we're very proud to call this region our home. Oh, thank you.
Taylor, did you record that?
Actually, we did. So we actually did record Krista speaking about this, just, I guess, it was actually the day of the pitch competition. I was almost late because I was had a videographer with me interviewing Krista and her husband. So to speak to the regional communication, NBC is stepping up to try to help with that as well. And so we have a website called Invest Southern Virginia, which really was created as just a very simple site to support a specific function. And we've been working to expand that site. So if you haven't been to it, check it out, investsouthernvirginia.com. Over the next few months, it'll get a lot more exciting because we have interviewed over 60 people, several of you in this room so far. And so we're hoping that that will be a truly regional marketing website, which doesn't exist because no one else has a service area as big as NBC. So that will then funnel out and connect to the other websites that are multi-locality as well. So be on the lookout for that, and you'll get to hear Krista's comments and more.
Speaking on the thread of collaboration, recently I was a part of a strategic doing initiative hosted at JMU, and that happened in early January. Really, in essence, is what is happening right now, and players across the region coming together to network and to see how we may be a benefit to each other. And the common thread in that discussion was the assets are in our community. It's just how do entrepreneurs and how do small business owners then access those assets, and how do they navigate to those intuitively? So I'm working with the College of Business and Economics at Longwood. I'm working with representatives from JMU. I'm working with the Danville River Association. I recently sat down with Kathy Dolan of the Small Business and Supplier Diversity. Sorry, I wanted to throw out the acronym. To just see how their site, which is Business One Stop, and Business One Stop was created with the State Corporation Commission and with other VEDP and other organizations within the state to help guide entrepreneurs. And it's a really good guide. It's kind of like if you've ever visited the SBA.gov website, there's a considering, launching, managing, expanding aspect to that. And it's really what Business One Stop does for the state of Virginia. However, we, in our conversations in the Strategic Doing Initiative, felt that it's a good guide, but it's a macro Virginia guide. What if I want to start a business in South Boston, Virginia, and I want to connect with resources in this area? Maybe I'm not from this area. How can I intuitively connect to those people? And that's the conversation I'm kind of having right now with Kathy Dolan, is establishing something on the website where it can be pinpointed. If someone wanted to throw in a zip code or an address, they could be filtered down to access resources in that area, in that radius. So that is something that's going on in the community that we're trying to add value to.
Liz and I want to talk to you because we had a discussion last week on this same issue. If I'm a business person and I want to go and look and see all the services that are available to me, multi-jurisdictional, where would I go? How would I find those things? If I'm an economic developer, how would I direct businesses to go find all the different things that are available to you? There's no place to do that. And so, again, business doesn't care about a line on a map. We don't care whether it's Lunenburg County or Halifax County or Greensboro, North Carolina. If that's our market area, we want to be able to operate within that seamlessly as much as we can. So that gets back to the different silos that we tend to encounter. How do we get rid of those, or at least reduce those, so it doesn't inhibit this ability of business to see the opportunities that are available to them? If there's one thing that frustrates business folks, is having to go from place to place to try to find out information about trying to run a business. Why do I have to do that? Liz, I don't know if you want to add anything to that or not, but I think that's something that's sorely needed in our area to be able for businesses to be able to do that.
I would add to that, on the search engine of that, I would include a need search. Okay, and I'll use I had a training need, and I didn't know how to meet that. Not from this area, don't know the different groups, or I'm having difficulty with certain, so if you could because the names of the organizations sometimes don't tell you what they do. So if I knew that I could put in there and say I have a training need for engineering or what, whatever, very specific. I think because we are, we're trying to survive as a business, right? So, it's about working every day trying to make that business successful. So we don't have a lot of time to go out and research what these different groups in the community are. But I totally agree with you. We have wonderful resources in our community. Just sometimes we just don't know they're there. Yeah.
To keep on Charlie's schedule here. Anything else you guys want to add? Any questions from anybody in the audience? Carl.
So the Dubby speech, you give it better than Dubby does. Virginia is not a successful state compared to other states in promoting entrepreneurship. I take it further. Communities without Tier 1 or 2 research universities are less successful than those that have a federal laboratory, a UVA, a Virginia Tech, a VCU. So what should Region 3 be doing? The state board's now saying entrepreneurial ecosystem is one of your top priorities. What should Region 3 be doing to become the most successful rural region in the Commonwealth on entrepreneurial development? In 3 words or less.
Workforce supply line. Almost.
Yeah.
Easier access to capital. That's just.
Those are actually 2 things we've heard, as in our discussions is how do you get the people to work and how do you get the money to expand? It sounds pretty simple, but it's not that easy. Anybody else? Anything else?
Okay, I'll take. Okay, so I heard a phrase called inclusive entrepreneurship. So 2 words, but I have to expand. Part of this feasibility study took me to Richmond for a day with one of our Charlotte County representatives, and so we met at Startup Virginia, Lighthouse Labs, Work and Friends, which is a co-working concept that they want to expand statewide, as well as Connect RVA. And so Connect RVA has a 17-week curriculum, so it goes beyond that 6 weeks, turns it into 17 weeks. And then they run cohorts all year long, and their purpose is inclusive entrepreneurship. So I think that the community business launch in Danville was impressive. On night 1, I walked in and there were 75 people there. It was a more diverse group than many programs that I've attended in my time being back home since 2010. However, those 6 weeks would not have prepared me to submit the business plan and the financials and prepare me for public speaking to pitch. My professional background had already done that for me, and I got to go listen to the speakers, and it was engaging. But if you're talking about the people in our community who have had less opportunities for education and to attend these types of professional development things over the years, that 6-week course would not have been enough to take you from having an idea and launching a business. And so we can do more to bring those resources to the level of the people that we're serving who aren't the people in this room, right? So that's my 2-3 words.
If we're talking about sustained entrepreneurship for this generation, and I'm more thinking next generation, having programming in place to foster entrepreneurship. And developing programming now to foster entrepreneurship from a state curriculum level implementation perspective.
He does, all fired up.
Yeah. Well, I'm very passionate about education, and making a difference in the lives of our students. Sometimes we tend to focus on the higher job profiles, the engineers, the skill sets needed for some of these jobs, and there is reason to focus there. However, I would not want us to miss out on the importance of the soft skills. We have a very low turnover rate at our company. I'm very grateful for that. Typically, if I have to part ways with someone, it's usually because of an attendance issue. I was shocked when I gathered with other manufacturers, some of whom are very large, 150, 300 employees. What did I hear? Oh, man, people just don't understand they have to really come to work every day on time as scheduled. So there are opportunities with our elementary school, middle schools, high schools, to just focus on soft skills. And I think, Lauren, it even comes to the having to stand up in front of class and give a presentation, being there on time, doing your own work, being held accountable, just getting back to the soft skills that will drive these individuals to be successful, whichever career path they choose. Because regardless of that, you have to be able to function with that capacity.
I think one of the things we heard time and time again is exactly what you said, Krista. If you want a job, you got to show up and you got to pass a drug test. If you can't do either one of those two things, then you're not going to have a job. I think what you've heard today is a lot of resources that are available as you've listened to these four folks talk about what they do, the resources that are available for businesses in the area. I think our challenge is to be sure we use those resources and to be sure that as a group we communicate what those resources are to the people that we come in contact with. And so if we can do that, and things like the Go Tech project come along, and things like the Innovation Hub come along, then that just fosters that continued communication about where we can go with entrepreneurship and small businesses. So thanks to the panel for coming up and taking the time to be here today. Thanks to you folks for listening. And Charlie, it's back to you. And I'm almost on time.